first episode of the Antisemitism Epidemic. I'm your host, Tess Mendelson. And quite honestly, this is a podcast topic that I never thought I would have to report on. However, it is a very important issue that must be talked about. Before I introduce you to my guests, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm so passionate about this issue. I'm a Jewish American college student who is incredibly proud of my religion and my heritage. I attended a Jewish day school from 6th grade until high school graduation. And up until I went to college, I had never experienced anti-Semitism. And up until October 7th, the anti-Semitism I had witnessed was very minimal. When I woke up on October 8th, the world changed for me and every other Jewish person. Organizations like the Anti-Defamation League have been tracking the spike in anti-Semitism since October 7th, the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Let's take a listen to President Biden's description of this awful day.
I know the recent terrorist assault on the people of this nation has left a deep, deep wound. More than 1,300 innocent Israelis killed, including at least 31 American citizens by the terrorist group Hamas. Hundreds of young people at a music festival. The festival was for peace, gunned down as they ran for their lives. Scores of innocents, from infants to elderly grandparents, Israelis and Americans, taken hostage. Children slaughtered, babies slaughtered, entire families massacred. Rape, beheadings, bodies burned alive. Hamas committed atrocities that recall the worst ravages of ISIS, unleashing pure, unadulterated evil upon the world. There's no rationalizing it, no excusing it, period. The brutality we saw would have cut deep anywhere in the world, but it cuts deeper here in Israel. October 7th, which was a sacred Jewish holiday, became the deadliest day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. It has brought to the surface painful memories and scars left by millennia of anti-Semitism and the genocide of the Jewish people.
In response to the October 7th terrorist attack in Israel, Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu declared Israel at war.
אזרחי ישראל, אנחנו במלחמה.
Citizens of Israel, we are at war. Following this terrorist attack and declaration of war, there has been an increase of anti-Semitism. My first guest is Maria Slade, the National Director of Workplace Education Programs at the ADL. Maria, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. First, can you tell me about what the ADL is?
The ADL is a leading anti-hate organization. It was founded in 1913, and our mission has always been the same: to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all.
So, Maria, one of your roles at the ADL was to track anti-Semitism on college campuses. I'm curious about what the trends of anti-Semitism on college campuses were like prior to October 7th.
Yeah, I would say prior to October 7th, the state of play on campus was kind of evening out. We know that when there is conflict or tension in Israel, there's anti-Semitism that increases all around the rest of the world, whether it's in attitudes or behavior. And we know that since the last conflict in Israel, which was between Israel and Hamas in April and May of 2021, things kind of increased there as far as anti-Zionism or anti-Jewish hate on campus, and then sort of plateaued until the most recent conflict started on October 7th.
So now let's fast forward to the current day. A lot of my Jewish friends and I say that, it's February 2024, but it's really October 8th. Can you tell me about what you've seen since October 7th?
Since October 7th, we've seen a huge uptick in anti-Semitic assaults, vandalism, acts of harassment, a lot of anti-Israel rallies, and a lot of sort of openly hostile behavior and expression towards Jewish students or students perceived to be Jewish or supporters of Israel.
And what Maria's talking about is not specific to one school. At the University of Maryland, sidewalk chalking saying Holocaust 2.0. A series of emails sent to my Jewish cousin, who sits on the board of trustees at the George Washington University, that reads, "Jews are dirty rats. Regards, Adolf Hitler." And let's take a listen to a professor at Cornell University's response to the October 7th attack.
It was exhilarating. It was exhilarating. It was energizing.
After universities faced backlash in response to these anti-Semitic incidents, the presidents of Harvard, Penn, and MIT were called to testify in front of Congress.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or
becomes
no?
if the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide?
4 days following her testimony, Liz McGill resigned, and the president of Harvard, Claudine Gay, has also resigned. So, Maria, a lot of these anti-Semitic incidents have happened at rallies or protests. I've seen this huge debate on social media and in the classroom about whether being anti-Israel or anti-Zionist means you are anti-Semitic. Do you think that if you are anti-Zionist or anti-Israel, this means that you are anti-Semitic?
I think inherently that's correct, that anti-Zionism is not necessarily anti-Semitism. But what we've seen in the days and weeks after October 7th is people using that line as an excuse to justify behavior or actions or rhetoric that is anti-Semitic. And we have to keep in mind that, anti-Zionism is the belief against Jews having the right to self-determination in the state of Israel, and calling for the destruction of the state of Israel or saying that it should cease to exist is anti-Semitism.
Let's hear from the director of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, on why this is not just a problem that Jews need to worry about.
We need a whole of society strategy to deal with this. It's not just something we can wait for government to solve or hope that a teacher or principal will do it. Everyone needs to be involved, because anti-Semitism isn't just a Jewish problem, just like racism isn't just the problem of black people or homophobia, the problem of LGBTQ people. Anti-Semitism is everyone's problem. It's a universal concern. So first and foremost, to tackle this, we do need people in public life, elected officials, policymakers, celebrities, to call out hate when it happens. But secondly, something else you referenced, social media. I would tell you that Facebook is a super spreader of stereotypes, and it amplifies anti-Semitism and other forms of hate. So we really think it's long overdue for some kind of government regulation, because, from Facebook to Twitter to TikTok to Instagram, the companies have proven again and again that they're incapable of regulating themselves, which means we need our elected officials to regulate them and force them to abide by a modicum of decency, just like we'd expect from any other media company.
I want to thank Maria and Jonathan for their insight today. This is Tess Mendelson signing off.